Hey there guys, it's Tina and I'm back, and I hope you guys are all doing well and staying safe. And if it's not going too well for you right now, power through it. I'm sending positive vibes your way because we all could use a little bit of support. So lots of love to you, and I am giving you a virtual hug. All right, so for today's video, we are jumping into something that I didn't know I was gonna be this excited about, but now that I have it, I am. So this is the new Patrick Ta Major Headlines Blush Palette. It recently launched on Sephora. It hasn't launched on Patrick Ta's website as yet, which is interesting, but I got early access through the Sephora app and I was able to pick this up, and I am going to test this out for you in this video. I'm gonna do swatches, I'm gonna do a demonstration, I'm gonna do all the good things, okay? So I'm gonna leave timestamps down below so you can follow along, jump ahead to whichever section interests you, and feel free to navigate this video whichever way you choose. But hopefully I can give you some great information and you can see how this applies to my skin tone to determine if this is something that you want to go ahead and pick up. So let's go ahead and talk about this new Patrick Ta Major Headlines Blush Palette. So this is a brand new limited edition blush palette from Patrick Ta. It retails for $58 and contains 6 different shades. There are 3 creams and 3 powders. Each cream is 0.1 ounce or 3 grams, and each powder is 0.11 ounce or 3.3 grams. So it says here this is a limited edition palette of 3 major beauty headlines, double take cream and powder blush shades. Create an endless variety of looks with these new color duos of luminous cream and velvety powder blushes. And there's some highlighted ingredients here that include patented biomimetic pigments that mirror the skin's ceramide structure, ensuring adhesion, true color, and the most natural finish. Micronized pigments, which provide even flawless payoff and a luminous finish and extended wear, and a creamy emollient base that flawlessly blends into skin, provides a dewy finish and locks in color for extended wear. This compact pairs 3 pigmented weightless powder blushes with 3 complementary hydrating dewy cream blushes designed to layer together for a bold dimensional finish. This product is free of parabens, formaldehyde releasing ingredients, phthalates, mineral oil, retinol palmitate, oxybenzone, coal tar, hydroquinone, sulfates, SLS and SLES, trichlorcarbon, triclosan, and contains less than 1% synthetic fragrance. This product is also gluten-free and vegan. This palette is made in the USA and it has an intended usage life of 12 months. The packaging is signature Patrick Ta. The outer box is a rose gold with all the product details and ingredients, and the palette itself is a beautiful reflective rose gold finish. It's a hard plastic palette. On the back you have a label with the Patrick Ta logo, the names of each shade, the sizing, and the manufacturing details. The palette opens and closes with a snap fit closure, so this is not magnetized, and inside the lid you have a full-sized mirror that is perfect for applying your products. The 6 blushes are arranged in duos of cream and powder that are complementary shades, and then there is a clear plastic flap that fits perfectly over the cream blushes and will help keep them from drying out too quickly, but it will also help to protect them from the powder kick-up that you can get from the blushes. You don't want to mix the cream and the powder products together, so that plastic flap is great as a protective layer. Now let's go ahead and jump into the swatches and the color descriptions. I'm also going to show you how these apply layered on my skin, as well as show you some shade comparisons, and then we will of course jump into the demonstration of these products and I will apply them on my cheeks. So let's go ahead and jump into some swatches of this palette, and I'm also going to do some shade comparisons to the existing shades in Patrick Ta's lineup. So we're going to start out with the She's a Doll duo, which is described as a poppy pink. Poppy pink to me means that this is going to be a cooler blue based pink, and that is exactly what it is. This pink is a medium toned blue based pink. It is a very light pink, but it's not reading too ashy on my skin tone, so we'll see when I apply this to my cheeks how it layers up and if it reads a little bit too ashy. The cream blush is very silky. It feels very emollient to the touch, and it applies pretty sheerly, which is how Patrick Ta's cream blushes tend to apply. The powder blush itself is a lot softer than I remember his powder blush formula being, but we're gonna test that out when we do the comparisons. But it's a very silky soft blush, and it packs a punch. It has a great pigmentation and it blends out pretty nicely. So I'm really liking this shade so far. Now before we move on to the other shade, I want to go ahead and layer it the way that Patrick Ta intends it to be layered. So with Patrick's application, he says to go over the powder blush with the cream blush for a dewy luminous finish. So I'm just gonna tap the cream over the powder, and it does give a luminous finish, and as you can see, the intensity is still there. I like to put the powder over the cream instead for a lot more punch, and I prefer this finish and this coverage rather than the other way, which is putting the cream over the powder. So there you have it. This is the cream over the powder, and then we have the powder over the cream. Now we'll move on to the second shade, which is She's Vibrant. This is described as a bright orange pink, and this one I am very excited about. So again, the cream is more on the sheer side. Oh my god, and the powder is a lot more pigmented. Very soft as well. This color is stunning. It's like a watermelon coral pink, which I absolutely love on my skin tone. So I can't wait to see how this looks. This is a very stunning shade. Let's go ahead and layer them up again. So my preferred way again, powder over cream. And I find that the powder does layer up over the cream pretty well. So it's not that it won't work this way, it's just that Patrick prefers a luminous finish, so he applies the cream over the powder to give that gloss instead. And you can see when the powder is applied over the cream, it's a little bit more intense, but they can give you the same level of intensity, and I really like how this color is looking. Ooh, I can't wait to see what it looks like on my skin tone. Now let's move on to the third and final shade, which is She's Baked, which is described as a tanned mauve. Now this shade I was also excited about, but a little bit nervous when I heard mauve. I was like, oh no, mauve is not my thing, because if there's a purpley like berry undertone, that can read a little bit too bruisey on my skin tone, but the tan part drew me in. And when I saw it, I was like, oh, that is stunning. The tan powder, look at that. That is so nice. That is a very natural medium tone brown blush. It has a little bit more of a pinky or rosy undertone, so it's not a caramel based powder, and it's definitely not on the neutral or cool tone side. It just has a little bit of a rosy undertone to it. Now let's layer it up. So cream over powder. Oh, that's pretty. And powder over cream. Ah, look at that intensity. I am loving this shade as well. So here are all three of the duos swatched out. And I will say that the powders pack a punch. You don't need a lot for the pigmentation to really pick up. I am really impressed with the powder formula so far. And the creams are just, they're beautiful. They're great for layering. I wouldn't necessarily wear them alone because they are more on the sheer side. But layering them with the powders, absolutely stunning. So let's go ahead now and do some shade comparisons. So here are the major beauty headlines double take cream and powder blush duos from Patrick Ta. There are 4 shades available and I have all 4 shades. And taking a quick glance of the palette versus the duos, you'll see that there is no exact dupe here. The shades don't quite match up to the existing collection. In fact, the shades are a little bit bolder, a little bit more poppy, and I think these would actually suit deeper skin tones, like medium deep skin tones and richer skin tones, because quite frankly none of the duos were rich enough or bold enough to work on deeper skin tones. So if you are deeper skin tone, I think the palette would work much better for you. So for the first set of shades in the palette, She's a Doll, which is the poppy pink, that bright blue base pink, you can see that none of the standalone duos really compare in color at all, so I'm not even going to compare any of the shades to that duo itself. And even the second shade, She's Vibrant, which is that bright orange pink, the middle shades, those don't really have a comparative duo either in the single standalone duos. So I'm going to still show you what they look alike up against some of the duos that you may think are similar. So the first duo we have is She's That Girl. This one is described as a soft pink. Then we have Do We Know Her, which is described as a peachy coral. Again, these are more muted shades. I don't think they compare at all, but if I was going to match them up against any of the duos in the palette, it would be the She's Vibrant duo. And for these shades, I did go ahead and layer the cream over the powder and the powder over the cream because I feel like that combination will give you a different effect and a different color. So you can see the comparisons now. And I think now you can see that the She's a Doll duo from the palette and the She's That Girl standalone duo actually look a little bit similar. They're more blue-based pink, but the She's a Doll duo is definitely more punchy and more vibrant. And then in the middle, we have the She's Vibrant duo from the palette versus the Do We Know Her duo, which is the standalone. Again, the shades look similar, like the undertones, but you have far more intensity from the shades in the palette. Then last up in the palette, we have the She's Baked duo. Now, this duo has some comparative shades in the standalone duos that I think are similar, but again, these are more muted, toned down shades. So first up, we have She's So LA. These shades are more on the brownie tan side, and they have a little bit more warmth to them than the She's Baked shade, which is a tanned mauve. So it has more rosy undertones than the She's So LA duo. And then we have the most comparable duo, which is Oh She's Different, which is described as a rich plum. This is the closest one in the standalone duos that I can say kind of looks similar to the ones in the palette, but it's still not a perfect match. This duo has more berry or mauve undertones than the She's Baked shade, which is actually a tanned mauve, which is interesting. But the Oh She's Different duo has more of that berry undertone to it, which can look a little bit bruisey on my skin tone, so I have to be a little bit more light-handed with this one. So I'm happy to have the She's Baked duo now, which I think is a happy medium between the Oh She's Different and the She's So LA. I feel like it's a mix between the two shades, and I'm loving that duo. And again, here are the shades layered. So we have cream over powder and powder over cream. And as you can see, the She's So LA is definitely not similar, but the Oh She's Different, that plummy shade, is a little bit more similar, but the She's Baked duo in the palette is a little bit more rich and a little bit deeper. And I prefer that shade because it's not as berry toned. And then quickly, I wanted to show you She's a Doll and She's Vibrant mixed together. So I'm mixing the cream from each duo with the opposite powder in the other duo, just to see if the combination would translate as anything different. And it slightly does. I get more of a raspberry, like bubblegum pink when I mix the two shades. But overall, I think they come closer to the shade She's Vibrant. They don't really pull strongly blue-based pink. They just give you a beautiful corally pink result. And then I also wanted to go ahead and show you some quick comparisons to other cream blushes that I have in my collection. I'm not going to compare the powder blushes, strictly the creams. And I'll start out with Fenty. These are their Cheeks Out Freestyle Cream Blushes. And I have a similar shade to every shade in this palette. I'll start out with the shade She's a Doll. The most comparable I have is Bikini Martini from Fenty. As you can see, they're not really that close to each other. Bikini Martini is much more of a light cool tone pink. And then we have the She's Vibrant shade up against Strawberry Drip and Daiquiri Dip from Fenty. And these shades are pretty close, with Strawberry Drip being the most similar, but it's just slightly lighter. And then Daiquiri Dip is a little bit more on the orange tone side. Then we have She's Baked and Rosé Latte. Rosé Latte is definitely more on the brown side, while She's Baked has a little bit of a rosy mauve undertone. So here you have all the Fenty shades compared. Then we have two e.l.f. Putty blushes. So the first one up is Bora Bora, which compares to She's a Doll. Bora Bora is more of a light bubblegum pink. It leans almost pastel, so it can read ashy on the skin. While She's a Doll is a little bit more subdued and wearable, and it's not as pastel. Then we have She's Baked and Bali. And just like with the Fenty shade, Bali is a little bit more on the warm tone brown caramel side, while She's Baked has a more rosy mauvey undertone. Next up, we have two shades from Tower 28 Beauty. These are their Beach Please Cream Blushes. First up, we have the shade Happy Hour, which compares to She's Vibrant. These are actually very similar in shade, and they even feel a little bit similar in texture as well, with the Tower 28 shade being a little bit more intense in one swipe, and then the She's Vibrant shade needs a little bit more building up. Then we have Power Hour and She's Baked. These shades are also very similar, with Power Hour being slightly more on the brown tan side. And of course, the Tower 28 blushes are a little bit more pigmented and intense because they are true cream blushes that are meant to be used alone. So there you have it. These are the two shades from Tower 28. They are the most similar I've seen so far, so if you have these two shades, you may not need this palette at all. Then we have two shades from Milani. These are the Cheek Kiss Cream Blushes. The first shade up is Coral Crush versus She's Vibrant. These shades are not spot on, with Coral Crush being slightly more on the coral side, and then She's Vibrant is a little bit more pinky or strawberry. Then we have Nude Kiss and She's Baked again. Nude Kiss is a lot more beige and lighter, while She's Baked is a richer and deeper shade. The two formulations feel very similar, but from experience, the Milani blushes really blend out to nothingness, so you'd probably have to layer them anyway, or they'll disappear on the cheeks. So here you go if you wanted to see a comparison to Milani. And then last but not least, we have LYS Beauty. These are the Higher Standard Satin Matte Cream Blushes. I have two shades that are similar to the She's Baked shade in the palette. So we have Self Love and Confident. And right away, these don't look similar at all. You'll see that Self Love is definitely more on the pinky side. And then Confident is a little bit more peachy, a little bit more tan. And of course, She's Baked over there is a little bit more on the mauve side and a little bit deeper. And these cream blushes from LYS are a lot more pigmented, again, because they're true cream blushes. So there you have it. Those are the comparisons to existing cream blushes on the market that I currently have in my collection. Alright, so now that we've done all the swatching, let's go ahead and apply these products on the cheeks. And I'm going to apply them in two different ways, as I usually do with my face products. I'm going to apply them over bare skin, so on one side of my face I'm not wearing foundation, moisturizer, or primer, and then on the other side of my face I am wearing a very light layer of foundation that is not set down with powder. So let's go ahead and jump right into the demonstration. Alright, are you guys ready? Because I am so excited. So we're going to go ahead and apply these blushes to my face. We're going to mix and blend them and combine them and layer them and do all that good stuff and see how they look on my skin. So as usual, one side of my face is completely bare, so I'm not wearing foundation, moisturizer, or anything. This is just bare skin. And then the other side of my face, I'm wearing a very light layer of foundation. You already know what I'm using. I'm using the Too Faced Peach Perfect foundation. This is my perfect match. So it may not look like I'm wearing foundation, but I definitely am. And we're gonna start out with the powder side of She's a Doll. And the brush I'm going to use for the powder application is the number 5 blush brush from Refer. This is a natural goat hair brush. And I'll just pick the product up on my brush. And I'm going to go in on the foundation side first. I'm telling you, these blushes pick up really well. When I was swatching them, I was very impressed by the pigmentation. So this is the beautiful poppy pink side, and that is a beautiful color. It is applying pretty well on the no foundation side. This is bare skin, but it's still showing up. It's blending away pretty easily though, because it has nothing to stick to. So let's see how it applies and blends on the foundation side. It's also picking up pretty well. It's blending out, but the color isn't disappearing. This color is definitely showing up on my skin tone, and it is more of a blue base. I would call it like a doll pink. The name fits it pretty well. And I think, yeah, you can build it up and layer it up, and the color shows up even on the non-foundation side. I prefer it on the foundation side. I needed less product to build it up. I think this blush is such a pretty pink blush. I am not usually into pink blushes, but this one is really giving me that dolly pink vibe, and I am liking it. Again, it shows up really nicely on my skin. It was easy to blend out, and it looks pretty seamless. It doesn't look powdery or dry. Even on the bare skin side, it just looks like it melts into my skin. Now, it definitely isn't shiny or shimmery. It has more like a skin-like satin finish, and I am loving this. All right, now I'm gonna go ahead and layer up the cream side of She's a Doll over the powder, which is the intended application based on what Patrick Ta recommends. I do it the opposite way around, but I definitely wanted to go ahead and show you how this looks with the cream layered on top. And for this application, I'm going to go in with my cream cheek brush from Smashbox. This is a synthetic fiber brush, and I'm just going to pick the product up on the tips of the bristles. And we're going to dab this over the powder blush. First on the foundation side. I'm gonna pick up a little bit more and pounce it over again. Oh, that is such a pretty color. So these creams are pretty sheer, but when you apply them over the powder, they pick up a little bit more pigmentation, and then they give a little bit more of a sheen and gloss to the skin. And this is definitely giving me that effect right now. They blend out pretty nicely without caking up. And I just, oh my god, I love the finish of this product. You can see I look like a doll right now with these pink cheeks. So here you have the cream applied over the powder, and I am loving this. I am loving the finish. Again, it doesn't pick up the powder color. It just gives it a little bit more oomph and a little bit more of a shine, but it's not a glittery or oily sheen. It's just more of a dewy, hey, my skin is luminous and lit from within. It's so pretty. So here you have it. This is the duo in She's a Doll with the powder applied first and then with the cream applied on both foundation and bare skin. All right, so now let's go in with the cream side first and see how that applies on its own. Again, let's pounce it on the foundation side. When I swatched the creams, they were a little less pigmented. They were more on the sheer side. And it's definitely applying the same. Let's see on the bare side. Okay, this is picking up a lot more on bare skin than it does on the foundation side. Because with foundation, it's going to kind of mix a little bit and eat up some of the, but absorb some of the color, and it's not going to be as intense, so I do have to build that up. Oh, this cream is pretty on its own though. It definitely is still showing up. So it actually didn't go on as sheerly as I expected it to. There's definitely a punch of color there. And the color applied really smoothly, really evenly. It was easy to blend out. It doesn't look patchy. It just looks nice and healthy and glowy on the skin, but it's not greasy or glittery at all again. And I'm loving how this looks on my cheeks. I can see myself wearing this shade on its own without the powder. This is really pretty. It's less intense than the powder shade, so if you wanted a softer color of the same shade, you can use the cream on its own. Now let's go ahead and apply the powder over the cream, which is, again, my preferred way of applying these products. I prefer to go over it with powder just to tame some of that sheen because I have oily skin, so I don't like to have too much of a glow on my cheeks. I prefer it to be a little bit more subdued. So I would go over my cream with the powder instead. And that is, again, very, very beautiful. So it tames the glow, it adds a punch of pigmentation. This looks amazing, and it makes your blush a lot more long lasting because you have kind of that layered effect. It's going to stay on throughout the day, and I am loving this color. This is a really beautiful color on my skin tone. And the texture, again, didn't get crepey. It doesn't clump together. It didn't lift the product off my face at all. It just just layered up really well, giving that punch of color, and I'm loving it. It still has a slight glow to it, so a little bit of that glow still shines through from the cream, but again, it's not too greasy at all, and this would be my preferred method of application rather than going with the powder first followed by the cream, because I think this still gives a healthy look to the skin while playing down the glow and the dewy effect. I think this is beautiful. All right, now let's go into the second shade, which is She's Vibrant, and this is the shade that I am most excited about. And again, picking it up on the same brush. Ooh, it is a very pigmented shade, so you can go in a little bit more lightly than I did to apply this. Oh, look how pretty that one is. So this one is a brighter, more kind of coral watermelon pink. It's one of my favorite kinds of shades to wear, and it's very pigmented. So just be careful if you're applying this over foundation and you didn't set it down with powder, because I didn't set this foundation down with powder. It's gonna take a little bit of elbow grease to blend it out, because it's just going to cling. But that color is stunning. I'm just gonna go back and forth to blend this out, and it's blending, but again, it would blend a little more seamlessly if I had set the foundation down with powder. But I wanted to apply this directly over foundation without setting it down, because I wanted to see. Oh, I love this color so much, but it's very intense. Like, you need very little. Oh yeah. On the bare skin side, you can see what a lighter application looks like. This is a stunning color. I really love this. Again, the finish, the texture is beautiful. I look like a clown on the foundation side because it's just a ton of product. Let me just blend out the edge just a little bit with my foundation. That's a trick you can use if you just get way out of hand with your blushes, to blend it out with your foundation brush. But the color, I mean, look at it. You have to be light-handed with this, okay? Especially if you're lighter than me, just go very light with it. But if you're a deeper skin tone, I'm kind of excited for this color, because this is gonna give you a punch of color on your cheeks, and it will look stunning. Like, this color, I can't get over it. I'm not gonna jinx it, but this is probably my favorite color of blush that I've tried in a very, very long time. I'm so excited about this color. Again, it's that beautiful watermelon pink. It's bright, it's bold, it's poppy, it's beautiful. It looks like silk on the skin. I'm really loving this. All right, now it's time to go in with the cream side over the powder, and I'm kind of excited, but at the same time I'm nervous because it is so intense already. Oh yes, so it picks up again the pigmentation of the color. This is a more sheer cream, but it does add a little bit of intensity to the blush. So again, be very careful with this color. It is intense. Oh yeah, it is definitely like adding oomph to this shade. Oh my god, I can't wait to wear this, like, for real, without packing on this much. But now I know that you don't need a lot for it to show up on the skin. I mean, look at it on the bare skin side. It's so stunning, and it's blending in really well with my skin. Again, the color is not caking up or getting too crepey. It is stunning. So the cream over the powder definitely adds a punch. It is intense. It is beautiful. Again, it adds a little bit of sheen, but it's not glowy or too greasy. So even if you have oily skin, I think this can still work for you. And again, this is already my favorite color in the palette. Now let's go in with the cream side of She's Vibrant and pop it on the foundation side first. Now this works a lot better on onset foundation because now I don't have that powder layer down. And this color, really beautiful. It's a very healthy look on the skin. But again, this is less intense than the powder side. And it's picking up really nicely, as I expected to on the non-foundation side. It's really, really pretty. Again, giving that beautiful glow to the skin. Nothing too crazy, I think. This is a stunning shade. Again, this is the shade that I was most excited about in this palette, and it did not disappoint. Even the cream alone, even though it's less punchy, it's a little bit more on the sheer side, it's still giving a beautiful color to the cheeks, and I am really loving this. This is a stunning, stunning shade. All right, let's see how this looks with the powder applied. I'm going to go in very lightly because I know this is an intense color. So just lightly patting that over the cream. Oh my god, this color is so good. It's so pretty. And when you apply the powder over the cream and layer it that way, even with the cream over the powder, it doesn't get crepey at all. I love the texture that it gives. When you layer cream over powder or powder over cream, you can get a really crepey effect, but these products just work together so well. They're meant to be layered. And this color, I can't get over it. And this is a little bit more subdued than when I did the cream over the powder. It's given me a less intense color and I really like it. It's so pretty, right? And this color again, I am so in love with. It just gives a vibrancy to my skin. It's bold, it's intense, and it flatters my skin tone so well. I really love it. So it's definitely my favorite shade, and I love it layered this way instead because it gives me a more toned down version of this blush combination. All right, so the last shade up is She's Baked. Again, we're gonna start out with the powder side. I'm gonna pick up very little because I'm a little bit nervous about this one, and I'm gonna pop it. Okay, all right, I can pick up a little bit more of this color. It's more on the nudie side, which I love a nudie blush, and it has a little bit of like a rosy undertone to it, so it's not just like a brown or a beige. It has a little bit of a rosy hue, which is my preference when I go for nudie blushes. This is not really as intense as the two other shades. It's given a very natural flush to the cheeks. On the foundation side, it's picking up a lot more again. And I didn't set this side down, but I allowed it to dry down a little bit more. So I would definitely recommend, if you're using this product on foundation, set your foundation first. It will make blending a lot easier, because layering it over on-set foundation, it's picking up, as you can see, and then it becomes a little bit more difficult to blend out. But on the bare skin side, you can see you can get a very nice flush of color. And I think this is, oh, okay, I am loving this as well. So, okay, this is a little, let's do that again with the foundation brush. Bring it down just a little bit. I definitely am loving this color though. It can get a little bit too intense. It can look a little bit bruisey, so I will have to be careful with it, but I'm loving how natural it is. So if I'm just going for a subtle blush, I can go in with this. I know it doesn't look subtle now. Look at this side. All right, look at this side. So it's a very subtle rosy blush. It's not too crazy except on this side, but okay. Listen, don't judge me, but I think it's a beautiful natural blush, and it reminds me of MAC Gingerly, which is a subtle blush, but this has a little bit more rosiness to it, so it's given a little bit more color, and this can be an everyday blush for me. I am loving this. Oh my god. So I know it looks intense, but I think it's still such a beautiful shade. Let me try to blend it out some more. Let's see how easy this can be fixed. So I'm just going in with a clean brush hair and blending it out instead of going in with the same brush. Whew. It blends out and it looks good on my end, but I know it still looks intense in the camera. But this is the color She's Baked, and I am baked on this side, but it's such a pretty color. I really, really like this indeed. Again, very flattering, very simple blush. I think this would be ideal for an everyday blush, and I think it will still show up on deeper skin tones because it has that punch of color to it. It's still pretty intense, especially when we layer it up with the cream. We're gonna see how it looks, but that's gonna add even more intensity. So I feel like this color is gonna be perfect for richer skin tones as well. All right, are we ready to see just how baked I can get by applying the cream sides? Ooh, let's see. So I'm gonna pick up product and just go over the top. Let me just put it right here and see if I can. Ooh, okay. So the cream is adding a little bit more brown. It is not looking as rosy anymore, at least not on the foundation side, which is not necessarily flattering, I don't think. Okay, I'm not loving what's happening here. You see, it's looking a little bit brown. Let me see what it looks like on the bare skin side, because I didn't apply any foundation on this side. So maybe it won't pick up as brown. So far, this is the one that I'm not necessarily loving. It looks a little bit splotchy, a little bit brown. I mean, it's giving me the glow, but I feel like it changed the color a little bit and I'm not in love with it. I don't think it's bad. I think I would have to lighten up the whole shebang for it to really give me a true color. But this one I think definitely deepens up the powder shade a little bit, gives it more of a brown or like a mauvey hue to it. So just be mindful of that. It's still a pretty color, but I would just have to be a little bit more careful with this one. But I mean, overall I still like it. I'm just gonna have to tame it down for it to really flatter my skin tone. And now let's go ahead and wrap up with the cream side. And I dug my finger into it already. Oh my god, I can't. But let's just pop that on the foundation side. Again, didn't set the foundation. This color, I think I have to play with it a little bit more because the cream is more on the berry brown side, which is not my favorite. I do like the powder side so far a lot more, but I'm trying to fall in love with the cream. So the cream, the cream looks a little bit interesting, right? It does look a lot more mauve than the powder. And it's not a bad shade. I'm not in love with it. It looks like my skin tone, but like a little ruddier, like a little bit more on the berry side. It doesn't really show up as intensely as you would expect because it is more on the sheer side and it kind of blends in with my skin. But it's pretty. I wouldn't wear this color necessarily alone because I feel like it doesn't really do much to my skin except add a glow, which isn't bad. It's just, this one I would definitely have to layer up a little bit to get it to give me the color that I am going for. All right, moment of truth. Are you guys ready? Let's see how the powder looks over the cream. Okay, it's not bad, but I feel like I was excited about this shade, but it's not giving me what I wanted it to give me. It's given me a lot more berry, a lot more mauve. It is described as a mauve, so I shouldn't expect any different, but you see how it looks like a bruise on my cheek instead of like just a beautiful rosy shade. I am not loving that. Okay, I am definitely not loving how that looks on my skin. You see that little blotchy area? So this shade I think is beautiful, right? But it definitely needs a lot more work than the other ones. I feel like the cream is a lot more emollient. It's a little bit more on the sheer side than the other two shades, and it changes the color of the powder and it can cling a little bit. It's a very pretty shade, but I have to be a little bit more careful with it. Do you see how that can just look a little bit too bruisey? But I mean, it's a pretty color. It gives a beautiful sheen to the skin. I think again, this would look great on deeper skin tones, especially if you have more of a red undertone. This would definitely be a beautiful color. On me though, I can see I have to be a little bit more careful with it because when it mixes with the cream, it changes to like a more bruisey brown. And that's not exactly the shade I'm going for. But I mean, it's cute. But I prefer the other two shades to this one. So the final test for this product would be to apply it as I normally would in a full face application. So I went in with my foundation all over my skin and I powdered it down. Again, I'm using the Peach Perfect foundation, but I powdered down my skin with my Kosas baked powder. And that set everything in place. So I'm now gonna go in with the most troublesome shade because I am convinced that I can get it to work. So I'm going in with She's Baked and I'm going to apply it the way I normally would, which is with a synthetic brush using the cream side first. And I'm going to lightly apply this. We've already seen how pigmented these shades can go on. So I'm going in very lightly as I would in an everyday application. And I'm just gonna tap that all over my cheeks, concentrating it where I would apply my my blush normally, which is higher up on my cheekbones. I don't necessarily apply it to the apples of my cheeks, but I'm applying that and blending it out, just giving me a very light and sheer coverage. Then I'm going to go in with the powder side of She's Baked, and we know how intensely this can apply and it can get a little splotchy, so I'm just going to give myself a light kiss of color on the cheeks and blend it out. And I think this level of intensity is just what I need for a fresh face look. And then what I'm gonna do is go in with my fingers and pick up a little bit more of the cream and tap it over that layered combination, just to add a little bit of glow where I want it. So instead of using a highlighter, I'm using the cream to give me a little bit of dew to my skin. But I don't want it to be overly dewy. I want the color to show up and then use the cream as a pinpoint highlighter. This is what I would consider like an everyday easy breezy blush for me. When I'm wearing a very simple makeup look, I'm not going for anything intense. I just have foundation on and I want a little bit of color on the cheeks to balance out like a bold lip, right? I will leave the lip details down below. It's Lisa Eldridge. It's one of the new shades Cinnabar. Stunning. But this is what I would consider everyday makeup. I just want to look put together and I want a little kiss of color on the cheeks that's still very natural, but not too intense or too bold. We already know I can build this up to be really intense, right? But that's not what I'm going for. And I think I was able to achieve the look that I was expecting all together from this palette. So now that I've shown you the full face look, you've seen the swatches, you've seen the comparisons, you've seen me layer it on my skin, let's go ahead and wrap up with my final thoughts. So let's start out with the price point. Again, this retails for $58, which is a bit steep for a blush palette. You have cheaper blush palettes on the market, but you also have more expensive ones on the market. And you are getting 6 different blushes in this palette. You have 3 cream blushes and 3 powder blushes for $58. And that breaks down to under $20 per duo. So for 2 shades, $20, or each shade is less than $10, which is actually not a bad price point when you consider it that way and break it down per shade, because I'm sure you've spent more than $10 on a single blush. So I think price point wise, you're actually getting a pretty decent value here for money. Now, this contains, again, 6 products. We have 3 cream blushes at 0.1 ounce and then 3 powder blushes at 0.11 ounce. Comparing it to his standalone duos that have a cream and powder as well, these retail for $34 a pop, and they contain 0.21 ounce of cream, so you're getting double the amount of cream, and 0.14 ounce of powders. So if you bought 2 of these duos, you would end up spending $68. For the 3 duos here in the palette, it's $58. So you see how you can consider this a pretty decent bargain for your money, especially when it comes to blush. You don't use that much blush. You're never going to go through this duo unless you use it religiously every day. So to get 6 shades in here with 3 creams and 3 powders, pretty decent size for $58. I don't think that's a bad price point at all, and the brand is more of a higher end brand and you do get quality products for your money. I don't think a drugstore brand can duplicate this quality, so I do think the $58 is worth the splurge. Onto the packaging, I mean, come on, this is beautifully done. This is signature Patrick Ta. It's gorgeous. It's a reflective rose gold palette, right? It's fingerprint prone, but hey, you can just wipe that down. I know, but this is signature Patrick Ta. It's what I expect. It feels sleek and luxurious in the hands. The edges aren't sharp. It just feels luxurious. It has a nice weight to it. And I mean, come on, like, look at this elegance. Look how chic it is. It's beautiful, okay? And then inside you get a full-size mirror that's really great, actually. I mean, the fingerprints, again, all over it, but I mean, beautifully done. You have the separator that is perfect for cream products. You can separate your powders from your creams. Just make sure this flap is over your creams when you're using the powders. But other than that, oh my God, I can't complain about the packaging. It's gorgeous. It's really well done. Now let's get into the nitty gritty, which would be the product and the performance. All right, so let's talk about the shades. I am so in love with the first 2 shades, She's a Doll and She's Vibrant. Oh my God, I didn't know that I would love She's a Doll that much, but it's so stunning on the cheeks. It's a more cool tone pink, but it doesn't look too strongly blue based on my skin, and it's not too pastel, so it doesn't read as ashy. It's just a stunning pink shade, and layered up, it looks even more stunning. And then She's Vibrant, don't even get me started, okay? I love this corally watermelon pink. It is definitely beautiful. The other shade, which is She's Baked, you guys saw that I struggled with this shade a little bit. This is my least favorite shade in the palette. I thought it would be like my second favorite. This one takes a little bit more work, but you can definitely get it to work, and it definitely looks beautiful on the skin. It strictly depends on what your preference is. As you can tell, this is a little bit more mauvey, a little bit more purpley on my skin tone if I really layer it up, so it can look a little bit bruisey. So I have to be a little bit more light-handed with that, but that's fine because I can still get it to work, and I think this will actually work well with other blushes in my collection. So I can use this powder blush over like a more nudie cream blush that I have rather than using this cream. And then I can use this cream with my more subdued, less mauvey powder blushes. I think that will work great. And overall, I'm happy, okay? I am happy. Even if I only like these two shades and just like forget about this one, I still think it's worth it. I am so happy I got this, and I definitely think Patrick Ta had deeper skin tones in mind for this blush palette. His blush duos are more on the subtle side. They're definitely lighter, and they won't necessarily work on medium deep and deeper skin tones as well as they do on lighter skin tones. They still work because they work on my skin tone when I layer them up, but I definitely need to still layer them up. Like I can't use the powder blush on its own. It won't really pick up, but when I layer it, I get the punch. But with these three shades, they definitely pack a punch. They're intense. The powders alone, oh god, they're so intense. The creams alone too still give me a punch. I think this is perfect. I think this is a great addition to his line. I know it's limited edition, so if you can get your hands on it and your deeper, richer skin tone, I think you will love this. This is stunning. It's beautiful. The finish is really stunning on the skin. If you use the powder alone, it gives more like a natural skin like satin finish to the cheeks, which is stunning, right? But then if you use the cream alone, it also gives this beautiful glow to the skin. That is also gorgeous. Since I have oilier skin, I wouldn't necessarily wear the creams on their own because it's a little bit too glowy for me, but if you're into that glow, these are stunning on the skin. And if you layer them, you're gonna get a beautiful look, whether or not you use the cream first or the powder first. They look so healthy on the cheeks, and the formula has been perfected where you can layer these products without getting cakey or crepey, and I think it's just stunning. Nothing else measures up. I can use cream blushes with powder blushes on top, but they won't quite give me the finish that these duos do, and I just think these are stunning. I definitely recommend. I love this so much, and I'm so happy I went ahead and grabbed it. I was hesitant because I was like, do I really want it? Is it gonna be that great? And I am happy to report that it is that great. So let me know what you guys think. Hopefully this video was helpful. The swatches, the comparisons, the layering, the demo, all that good stuff. Let me know if that helps you out at all. And if it does, definitely give me a thumbs up. And if you are thinking about picking this up, please consider shopping through my affiliate link, which is down in the description box. That helps me to put right back into the channel because I get a small kickback if you make a purchase through my links. I thank you guys so much if you use my link. I definitely appreciate the support. But if you are uncomfortable with that, just shop the way you normally shop. No muss, no fuss. And you can also support the channel by buying me a coffee, you know. I may be a little thirsty and you want to contribute in that way. Other than that, you should go ahead and follow me on Instagram and Twitter where we have a good time. And until my next video, which will be very soon, I'll talk to you. Bye guys!